In the chaotic aftermath of World War II, a new nation emerged from the ashes of empire. On September 2nd, 1945, in Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh declared the independence of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. But France, Vietnam's former colonial ruler, had other plans. They saw Indochina not as a liberated territory, but as a crucial part of their post-war global empire, ready for re-establishment. Ho Chi Minh's Viet Minh movement, a coalition of nationalists and communists, had fought for decades to end foreign rule. Now, they stood ready to defend their declared independence against any returning power. Negotiations between the Viet Minh and France proved futile. Neither side would compromise on the fundamental question of Vietnamese sovereignty. The stage was set for an unavoidable confrontation. The fragile peace shattered in December 1946. French forces shelled the port city of Haiphong, then launched a full-scale assault on Hanoi. The First Indochina War had officially begun. The Viet Minh, led by the brilliant General Pho Nguyen Giap, refused to engage in conventional warfare. Instead, they embraced guerrilla tactics, melting into the dense jungles and rice paddies. These hit-and-run attacks, combined with popular support, allowed the Viet Minh to gradually gain control of much of the Vietnamese countryside, isolating French outposts and supply lines. The conflict wasn't just a colonial war. It became a proxy battle in the burgeoning Cold War. Global ideological lines were drawn, and Vietnam became a crucial front. China, now under communist rule, provided significant military aid and training to the Viet Minh, transforming them into a more formidable fighting force. The Soviet Union also offered support. In response, the United States, fearing the spread of communism, began pouring massive financial and military aid into France's war effort. By 1954, America funded 80% of France's costs. With US backing, France sought a decisive conventional battle. They established a heavily fortified base at Dien Bien Phu in late 1953, deep in a valley in northwestern Vietnam. The French believed Dien Bien Phu's remote location and formidable defenses would cut off Viet Minh supply lines and force Giap into a conventional fight where French firepower would dominate. But General Giap had a different plan. Against all French expectations, he meticulously encircled Dien Bien Phu, exploiting the dense jungle terrain the French thought impenetrable. His forces embarked on an incredible feat of logistics, hauling heavy artillery, piece by piece, through miles of rugged jungle, then reassembling it on the hills overlooking the French base. The French, confident in their air superiority, never anticipated artillery could be positioned so effectively. They were trapped, surrounded, and vulnerable. The siege of Dien Bien Phu began on March 13, 1954. For 56 relentless days, Viet Minh artillery relentlessly pounded French positions, turning the fortified camp into a death trap. Viet Minh engineers systematically destroyed French airfields, cutting off vital resupply and reinforcement by air. Paratroopers tried to drop in, but many were lost. The defenders, exhausted and demoralized, fought valiantly, but were overwhelmed. Trench warfare devolved into brutal hand-to-hand combat as Viet Minh tunnels brought them inside French positions. On May 7th, 1954, after 56 days of brutal fighting, the last French strongholds at Dien Bien Phu fell. It was a catastrophic and humiliating defeat for France, signaling the end of an era. Approximately 11,000 French Union troops were captured in the battle's aftermath, a staggering loss that effectively broke France's will to fight for Indochina. The defeat directly led to the Geneva Accords in July 1954, formally ending French rule in Vietnam. The long, brutal First Indochina War was finally over. However, the Accords also temporarily divided Vietnam at the 17th parallel, pending nationwide elections in 1956. Elections that never came. The division solidified into Communist North Vietnam and an anti-Communist South, setting the stage for direct American intervention. The First Indochina War was over, but the fight for Vietnam's future had just begun.